little. So
we're gonna hold each other during this. All right. I will have questions in case this kind of, because I'm sure a lot of you stayed, so that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for staying.
Yeah, thank you. So, first question. First person to raise their hand. Go.
Your hand is already up.
Is it because my hand was up? I wasn't the first, so go ahead. Yeah.
How much of the story is autobiographical?
I actually, before being a writer, director, or actor, or anything like that, I was in a band. I toured around the country for like 4.5 years, like in like a little windowless van, like around the country. And but to be perfectly honest, not a lot of it is autobiographical. I didn't actually really want to do my own experience. I felt like it was always changing, and influences were always changing, and I'd say the one thing, like as far as like the band touring, that is 100% true to my life is the Theta Beta Potato House. Like literally, we were driving down this. Oh man, I woke up. I woke up. I looked around. We were driving down this residential street, and I was like, "What the hell is this? Like, where are we playing? Are we playing somebody's house?" And we pull up in front of this big old like dilapidated mansion, and it says like Theta Beta and a big potato symbol, and it was a bunch of like kind of young punk kids that had all co-opted this house that was like set to be demolished or something. And they just threw shows there. Nobody got paid, and it was so much fun. And then maybe there was little random things in it that were from my own life. Alex is actually a lot more like my little brother Spencer, who played Paco actually in the film. He's kind of my muse for a lot of stuff that I write. But and then my little sister. I'm the oldest out of 5 kids. I'm like my little sister. Was crazy smart, taught herself to read when she was 3. She skipped 2nd grade and was kind of like ostracized in a huge way kind of because of it from the kids. And I was actually 17 years older than my twin little brothers that I have. And so there's stuff in there, but it's definitely not my exact story.
So when you wrote it, who did you have in mind, or did you just basically write it as, I want this to be a script and not have any names attached to it? How did you write it? When did you write it? And how did you write it? And did you expect to have names like you did on this?
I wrote a movie, the first movie I ever wrote, and literally, you know what? Actually, I watched the movie Garden State when I was in college, which I absolutely loved, and it was the first time I'd watched a film that I was like, that speaks to me in such a way that I feel like I could have written that. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way, but like I mean that in a way of like it just, it was like a story that I could have told, and it was kind of like my sense of humor that I really loved. And that night I wrote this script, not Brooklyn Brothers, but like another script that I've been trying to get made for like almost 6 years, like having written that script, and it's finally getting made in June. But like it was like it had some special effects, so it cost a little bit more. Like it was like between like 1 and 1.5, and it was just impossible to raise. We had the money 3 times, it fell away. It was disastrous. So I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I am going to write a movie that I could shoot for $50,000 to $100,000 if I had to, and that ended up being Brooklyn Brothers. We ended up getting a bit more than that, like when we actually shot it. But that was the intention, that everything that I wrote could, like, if I had to have it like where I was holding a handheld camera just myself, I guess that wouldn't really work. No, I mean, but it would have been somebody else. And to answer your other question, I didn't write it for myself. At the beginning, I wrote it for myself in the sense of like, if it had to be shot for $50,000, I would probably do it because it would just make everything easier. But we went after cast just like every other independent film does, and a lot of people said no. It was really hard because you had to find people that could play music, and that was actually really, really tough. But when I wrote it randomly, I like in my head, I wrote it with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zach Galifianakis in my mind. And that's just how funny things are, as far as writing. Like sometimes it helps to have an actor in your head, and then you never know how it's going to end up.
Yeah.
What gave you the idea to use the instruments?
there was a band that I saw that I used to be in this band called Dresden, and it was like this harder kind of punk like indie thing. When I was in college, like this is actually while I was in college after having stopped being in a band, and we played the first show. We were living in Jersey at the time. I was living in Jersey at the time. I went to Mason Gross at Rutgers, and the band that was opening the show was this band where one guy plays acoustic guitar and the other guy played children's instruments, and nobody was fucking watching them. Nobody. Like, everybody was like talking to each other, and I just was thinking like, oh my God, how is everybody in this place not watching this crazy thing that's going on right now? Because they were lovely, and they became good friends of mine. And actually, a few of the songs that are in the film were songs that they wrote. But we used some of those instruments. We brought some more in, and I wrote, you know, a majority of the songs, but I tailored them into that, and then some of the songs that the other people play in the movie were written by me. But it was really because of my friends Brendan and Keith that I thought that would be so interesting, kind of visually, that this guy who's trying to figure out what it means to be a man, and like, can you bring your childish dreams into your adulthood, like that the tools that they use are the tools of children, and I thought that would be fun.